Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're delving into something profound what the ancients called 33rd degree knowledge. We're essentially opening the vault on timeless secrets of mastery, initiation, and that elusive inner power.
It's great to be here. And yeah, let's be really clear up front. This isn't about, you know, secret handshakes or shadowy groups.
Right. No conspiracies today?
None. We're talking about 33rd degree as a metaphor, really. A state of consciousness, almost like an architectural blueprint for achieving mastery that's available within every single person.
That's what's so fascinating, isn't it? Humans have always chased the secret. You see it from ancient Greek mystery schools all the way to those late-night internet deep dives people get lost in.
Absolutely. But the paradox, the real twist our sources point to, is that the secret wasn't actually hidden.
Okay, how so?
Well, it was carved in stone, it was woven into myths, it was right there in everyday life. The problem wasn't access, it was, simply put, perception. People looked, but they didn't truly see. They heard, but missed the deeper meaning.
So initiation, in this context, isn't about joining some club or going into a special building. You don't need, like, a membership card.
Exactly. Initiation is about entering a different state of awareness. It's looking at the same world everyone else sees, the traffic, the seasons changing, your own struggles, but suddenly seeing it with completely different eyes. The ordinary starts to feel, well, sacred.
So the whole idea for this deep dive is that you, the listener, are the temple. You're the potential initiate, and we're going to explore the principles that unlock that inner potential.
And a good place to start is understanding symbols. Ancient knowledge was often veiled in symbols, glyphs, ritual, geometric shapes.
Why veil it, though? Why not just spell it out?
It wasn't really about locking people out. It was more about protecting the depth of the idea, preventing it from being misunderstood or trivialized by just a quick surface-level glance.
Ah, okay. So the symbol isn't the lock on the door.
It's the map, exactly. These symbols are like maps designed to trigger a shift in your awareness. They guide the sincere seeker inward, toward discoveries that actually change how your mind works, not just stuff more information into it.
And this isn't just ancient history, right? This applies now.
Totally. Think about all the symbols bombarding us today, company logos, flags, even the way buildings are designed. If you pause for a second when you see, say, a spiral staircase or a repeating pattern in a public square, and you just ask yourself, what does that feel like? What does it stir in me?
You become an active interpreter, not just a passive observer.
Precisely. That simple act connects ancient ways of knowing with your immediate concrete experience right now.
All right, let's dive into these foundational laws. The first big one is the law of vibration. Everything moves, nothing rests. This feels huge.
It is foundational, yeah. And it's interesting because modern physics kind of backs this up. Even though the language is ancient, the principle is simple. Everything, the chair you're sitting on, the air, distant stars, everything is in constant, ceaseless motion, vibrating.
Like strings on some cosmic instrument.
That's a great way to put it. Everything has its own unique frequency. So even things that look solid and still, that's just how our limited senses perceive them.
So solid objects aren't really solid.
At the deepest level, no. Think of a calm pond. Looks still, right? But underneath, there are currents. And at the atomic level, it's a constant dance. This points to a key insight. Energy, not physical stuff, is the real language of reality. The world we see is just the surface. The energy is the unseen depth.
Okay, but how does knowing this help me in my, day-to-day life? It sounds pretty abstract. Is this just like manifestation?
It's a bit deeper than just wishing for things. The sources emphasize it's more about turning, like tuning a radio. Your thoughts, your feelings, they aren't just abstract concepts. They're real vibrations you're sending out. So these vibrations actively shape your experience, your personal energy field. If you're constantly vibrating with anxiety, you sort of create resonance for more anxious events or perceptions. But if you learn to subtly tune your inner frequency,
You can influence what comes back to you.
you can influence the currents of your life, yes. It's about gaining a quiet kind of control, not forcing things into existence.
Yeah.
More like steering your ship gently.
Okay, so how do we actually do this tuning? The source mentions an exercise. Sensing personal vibration.
Right, this is a really practical self-awareness tool. Instead of trying to block out the noise of the world, you use it. Go somewhere busy, a noisy street, a crowded mall, maybe even just during a stressful work deadline.
And then what?
Pay attention to where that external stimulus lands in your body. When a car honks loudly, do you feel a clench in your stomach? Does your chest tighten? Maybe your breathing gets shallow.
So you're using the outside world as a mirror for your inner state.
Exactly. It's about mapping yourself. By noticing these small physical shifts consistently, the quick breath, the heavy feeling, maybe tension behind your eyes, you create a reliable internal map.
Hmm.
And once you know where the controls are, let's say,
You can start to steer your mood more intentionally?
you gain that quiet mastery. You can consciously choose to align your frequency with calm or focus or creativity, even if there's chaos happening all around you. You learn to manage your internal state.
That makes sense. Now, if everything's vibrating, that motion often involves opposites, right? Which brings us to the second principle, the dance of duality, harmonizing opposites.
Yeah, this is fundamental, the ancient idea of paradox. Light needs dark to be defined. Joy needs sorrow. Creation needs destruction. Masculine and feminine energies balancing each other.
They depend on each other.
Totally interdependent. It's not about these things being at war. It's that they're necessary for each other. Think about it. Adversity isn't just bad luck. It's what shapes your strength. Struggles reveal hidden potential. If everything was always easy, you'd never build resilience, would you?
No, I guess not. The text uses a great metaphor here, the traveler's lesson. Can you walk us through that?
Imagine you, the initiate, standing in this dim hall between two huge opposing mirrors. You see endless reflections of yourself. And maybe you perceive them as separate, conflicting parts, like the part of you that loves order fighting the part that craves spontaneity.
And you try to defeat one of the reflections.
Right. That's where the tension comes from. You try to smash the bad mirror. But mastery arrives when the traveler stops fighting and realizes they are the single presence unifying all the reflections. They're all part of the whole.
So the goal isn't to escape duality because you can't really.
Exactly. You can't eliminate the shadow in this reality. The goal is to harmonize it. If you force relentless positivity and deny any feeling of frustration, that frustration doesn't vanish. It just goes underground and might pop up as anxiety or sudden impatience later.
Trying to suppress it makes it stronger.
Definitely. Or if you cling rigidly only to order and control, chaos will eventually find a way in. Harmonizing means consciously choosing when to lean into the light aspects like focus, action, and when to gracefully accept the shadow rest, reflection, even a bit of messiness, letting them flow together.
So the reflection for us listening is, where am I resisting opposites in my own life? Am I trying to be strong all the time and denying vulnerability? Or maybe pushing away connection to stay fiercely independent?
And recognizing that pushing creates tension. Accepting their coexistence, their dance, is the path to a deeper kind of inner peace.
That acceptance seems to flow right into the third law, the illusion of separation, the invisible threads of unity.
It does. And in our modern world, with technology sometimes isolating us, busy city lives, it's so easy to buy into the idea that we're all separate islands.
But that's the illusion.
That's the great deception, according to these teachings. Mystical traditions worldwide have always pushed back against this. Think of Vedic philosophy in India, or Sufism's concept of Tawhid, which means the absolute oneness of God in creation. They saw separation as a mirage, a veil.
Like the idea that a single drop of water contains the whole ocean.
Exactly that kind of idea. It's poetic, but it points to a deep truth. And the paradox here is fascinating.
What's the paradox?
That individuality and unity aren't enemies. They're just different ways of looking at the same reality. You are like an individual wave, with your own unique shape and speed.
But still made of ocean water.
Precisely. You're made of the ocean of consciousness. When you really feel this connection, it starts to dismantle things like loneliness, conflict, even fear, because the understanding that harming someone else ultimately ripples back to you becomes much more tangible, more real.
Okay, that's a big concept. How do we make this practical? How do we feel it day to day?
Through what the Source calls micro moments of unity. These are tiny, often overlooked interactions that happen constantly. They're like invisible stitches sewing us together.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, like sharing a genuine, spontaneous laugh with a colleague, or offering a truly kind word to a stressed cashier. Even just that fleeting moment of eye contact and mutual understanding with another driver in traffic.
Things that barely register sometimes.
Right. But if you start to intentionally notice these tiny moments, even if they only last a few seconds, you actively cultivate empathy. You dissolve those artificial walls we built. You start to realize that unity isn't some far-off mystical goal. It's actually present right here, hidden just beneath the surface of ordinary life.
Let's move to the fourth law, which really ties our inner world to the outer one. The law of correspondence. As within, so without. That's a classic Hermetic phrase, isn't it?
It is. And it's about profound synchronization. It suggests that your external world acts like a giant mirror reflecting your inner state, your psyche.
Oh.
What's true on the grand cosmic scale is also true in your personal life.
So if I feel joyful inside, the world looks brighter.
Generally, yes. If there's inner clarity and peace, the world tends to appear more vibrant, more open, full of potential. If you're carrying inner doubt and chaos, the same world might seem gray, restricted, maybe even hostile. Your inner state actively colors your perception and shapes your path.
This law also touches on why patterns repeat everywhere, doesn't it? Like fractal.
Exactly. Fractals. These are complex patterns that look basically the same no matter how closely you zoom in self-similarity. We see them everywhere in nature.
Like snowflakes.
Snowflakes, the branching of lightning, which looks like river deltas, the spirals in shells mirroring galaxies. These aren't just random coincidences. They reflect fundamental, underlying natural laws, efficient ways for things to grow and organize.
Okay, so the universe likes patterns. How does that connect to as within, so without?
If the universe operates using these fractal patterns, then our own psychology likely does too. Our thoughts, our feelings, they tend to cluster in repeating loops. This shapes our habits, both the helpful ones and the destructive ones.
So if I keep finding myself in the same kind of bad relationship or repeating a self-sabotaging behavior, that's a fractal pattern.
That's the idea. It's a psychological echo. Instead of feeling like a victim of bad luck, this law invites you to step back, recognize the pattern itself, and see it as a reflection of something within you that needs attention.
Right. So the practical tool is finding fractals in your daily life. How do we train ourselves to see them?
It starts with intentional observation. Next time you're walking around, consciously look for repeating shapes. Maybe it's the grid of tiles on a floor, the way tree branches fork, even how items are arranged on a supermarket shelf.
Just noticing.
It's more than just noticing. It's training your brain to recognize the universe's underlying language of order. When you connect your own small, repeating personal patterns to this larger universal order, it gives you perspective. It helps you see that chaos is often just on the surface. And knowing that gives you the power to gently begin shifting your own negative cycles from a place of awareness, not struggle.
That idea of underlying order leads us nicely into section 2. Here, we're turning inward, becoming the architect of our inner world, starting with the inner temple. True initiation happens within. We often think transformation requires some external event, right? Like a pilgrimage or a big ceremony.
We do, but the core insight here is that those external things are just mirrors, maybe catalysts. The real work, the fundamental growth happens inside. Your mind, your spirit, that's the true temple. That's the sacred space where self-mastery is built.
So the work is building the temple of awareness, not with bricks and mortar, but with attention.
With steady, unwavering attention, yes. It's about clearing away the internal debris.
And there's a lot of debris in modern life. Distractions, noise.
Oh, absolutely. Mental clutter, that constant inner chatter, endless notifications, they all obscure our inner structure. So building the temple requires guardianship. Learning to observe these obstructions may be a nagging thought or the urge to check your phone without judging them.
You don't fight the clutter.
You don't fight it aggressively. You observe it, acknowledge it's there, and then gently peel it away, like wiping dust off a sacred object. The temple isn't built quickly. It requires patient, focused effort.
How can someone start to visualize this inner space?
The inner temple meditation is really helpful. Find some quiet time. Close your eyes and imagine a sanctuary within you. It could be anything, a bright hall, a quiet cave, a garden. Explore it in your mind. What does it feel like? What colors are there? Is it strong? Peaceful?
And this connects you to inner resources.
It connects you to that feeling of inner wisdom, resilience, calm. It makes the temple a real, felt foundation inside you, a refuge you can always return to, built and maintained by your own focused attention.
Okay, from the foundation of the temple, let's talk about the energy that drives change. Desire as fire, transmuting craving into creation. This one feels a bit risky. Isn't desire often seen as the root of suffering?
It often is, especially in some Eastern traditions. But the alchemical view is different. The ancient alchemists saw desire not just as fleeting craving, but as raw, potent energy like the glowing embers in a blacksmith's forge.
So it's about how you use the fire.
Exactly. Unchecked, raw fire that's the craving that leads to endless scrolling, impulsive buys, chasing sensations. It just burns itself out and leaves you feeling empty. But when that same fire is contained, shaped, directed with intention, it becomes the force that forges new paths, creates new realities.
The challenge is seeing craving not as a weakness, but as raw material.
Raw creative energy that's just waiting for form. That's the key shift in perspective.
So how does the alchemical process begin? How do you shape the fire?
It starts with awareness. When that intense pull of craving hits for food, distraction, approval, whatever the first step is crucial, pause, breathe, and try to name the real need hiding beneath the surface craving. Well, maybe that urge to doom scroll social media isn't really about the content. Maybe it's masking a deeper need for connection or validation or even just mental stimulation. Or a craving for junk food might be covering a need for comfort or security.
Once you identify that deeper need,
Then you can consciously redirect the energy. This is the transformation blueprint. Instead of just trying to suppress the craving, you translate that powerful longing into a clear, positive intention. So instead of, I need to stop scrolling, it might become, I choose to cultivate meaningful connections.
and then take action based on that intention.
Yes. Outline small, concrete steps. You treat the desire not as an enemy to be fought, but as a powerful seed. You become the gardener, consciously cultivating it towards a constructive outcome.
This leads us inevitably to the shadow side, doesn't it? The shadow and the light, meeting the unknown self. This sounds like where the real difficult work of initiation lies.
It often is. Almost every hero's journey, every initiation story, involves the trial confronting the shadow. This isn't necessarily evil. It's the collection of all the parts of ourselves we've disowned or repressed. Our fears, regrets, maybe talents we were afraid to express, traits we judge harshly in ourselves and others.
Like the seeker aura in the source descending into the dark cave.
Right. She wasn't looking for treasure. She was confronting the whispers of her own self-doubt, her own hidden fears.
Yeah.
Carl Jung talked a lot about this. The shadow is the unknown self.
And it influences us because it's unknown.
Precisely. It shapes our behavior unconsciously because we refuse to look at it. If you find yourself intensely irritated by impatient people, Jung might say you're projecting your own disowned impatience or need for control. Initiation demands the courage to turn towards that discomfort, to bring those fragmented pieces back into the light of awareness and integrate them.
That sounds like wholeness.
It's the path to wholeness, yeah.
Yeah.
And importantly, the sources stress that the shadow isn't just full of bad stuff. It holds the shadow's gifts.
Gifts. Like what?
When you approach these hidden parts with curiosity, maybe even kindness, instead of judgment, they often soften, and they reveal hidden strengths. That stubbornness you hate might actually be the source of your resilience. That impatience, once understood and channeled, could become decisive action. The real problem isn't the trait itself. It's the shame we attach to it.
Okay, so practically speaking, how do we start? The advice is honoring one shadow.
Start small. Pick one trait, one pattern that persistently bothers you, maybe in yourself, maybe one you react strongly to in others. Instead of just pushing it away, get curious. Ask, where did this come from? What positive purpose might it have originally served? Maybe impatience helped you survive a chaotic environment. Maybe stubbornness protected you.
So remove the shame and understand its origin.
Exactly. Acknowledge its history. By doing that, you start to gain sovereignty over it. You can choose when and how to use its energy consciously, rather than having it run the show from the shadows. You reclaim that power.
Okay, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about a quieter principle. The law of silence. Restraint, presence, and inner knowing. In our super noisy, always-on world, silence feels almost rebellious.
It kind of is, isn't it? Silence in these traditions is seen as the guardian of deep truths. Think about ancient temples. Wisdom often wasn't shouted from the rooftops. Why? Because real understanding needs personal experience, contemplation.
If you just tell someone a profound truth before they're ready,
They'll likely argue with it, misunderstand it, or trivialize it. Silence creates the space necessary for the seeker to do the inner work first, to arrive at the understanding themselves.
and what's the lesson for us today, surrounded by screens and notifications?
The lesson is that restraint is an act of power, of courage. Choosing silence even for brief moments cuts through the constant mental clutter. Every time you resist the urge to immediately check your phone or jump into a conversation just to fill space, you reclaim a little piece of your attention, your presence.
And this cultivated silence leads somewhere.
It leads towards inner knowing. This is a kind of understanding that goes beyond words, beyond logic. It's like a quiet, steady flame within you that remains constant even when the external world is turbulent.
How do we access that?
The Source recommends a daily sacred silence practice, even just 10 minutes. Find a quiet space, turn off everything, and just sit. Don't try to force thoughts out. Just let them be, like clouds passing. Tune into your body, your feelings, any quiet insights that might arise. It helps you distinguish the inner signal from the outer noise. You find that still point inside.
That stillness probably helps us perceive things like symbols more clearly. Let's talk about the power of symbols. Bridges to the subconscious. Why were symbols like myth and geometry so central to ancient teaching?
Because they speak a different language. They bypass the logical, analytical part of the brain, the part that loves to argue and dissect. Symbols think of universal images like a key, a lotus flower, a bridge, a spiral. They connect our conscious mind directly to the deeper currents of the subconscious.
They communicate through feelings and images.
Exactly. They evoke responses, insights, feelings, without needing words, which are often too limited to capture these deeper truths. This allows the subconscious, the intuitive part of us, to send messages upwards.
And reflecting on these symbols becomes a form of initiation. Initiation through imagery.
Yes, if you start noticing recurring symbols, maybe in dreams, during meditation, or even just things you keep seeing in your daily life, and you pause to reflect on what they mean to you personally, they become active tools for self-understanding and mastery.
For example.
Like if you keep dreaming of or seeing images of a bridge during a time of major life change, the symbol isn't literally telling you to cross a physical river. It's more like your inner self confirming, yes, you're in transition and you have the capacity to cross over.
So we should perhaps find or choose a personal symbol of power.
That's a really useful practice. Think of it like creating your own personal amulet. But the power isn't magical, it's psychological. Choose an image, an object, maybe even a geometric shape, something that for you embodies strength or clarity or purpose. A mountain, maybe? Or flowing water?
And use it as a reminder.
Use it as a daily anchor. Keep it in mind, maybe visualize it. It reinforces your connection to that inner quality, reminding you of the resilience or wisdom you possess, especially when things get tough. The power is in the meaning you invest in it.
Speaking of symbols, we have to discuss the number 33, mastery and rebirth. This number pops up a lot and seems to carry significant weight.
It really does have a strong symbolic weight across many different cultures and traditions. Numerologically, it's considered a master number.
What does that mean, a master number?
It often signifies high levels of spiritual attainment, consciousness, and often the idea of teaching or service-sharing wisdom gained through experience. The master teacher.
And its cultural presence is quite striking too, isn't it?
It is. You find connections like the 33 vertebrae in the human spine, symbolically linking the physical structure to the flow of spiritual energy. Often cited is Christ's traditional age at the crucifixion, seen as representing a peak of potential, a completion of a mission, and a transition to a higher state through sacrifice and resurrection. Dante's Paradiso, the final part of the Divine Comedy depicting heaven, has 33 cantos. It consistently marks a threshold.
So the core meaning revolves around completion, integration, and rebirth.
That seems to be the essence. It signifies reaching a point where diverse experiences, even the difficult ones, are integrated into a higher, more refined understanding. Like the lotus flower finally blooming immaculately above the murky water it grew through. It suggests that endings aren't failures. They're necessary gateways to new beginnings.
So for someone listening, the reflection point might be, what does completion look like in my life right now?
Exactly. It's maybe less about finishing tasks and more about finding a sense of peace or acceptance with certain life chapters. Acknowledging past wounds not as fresh injuries, but as integrated parts of your story. Releasing old patterns or anchors that keep you stuck. Completion here is a state of integrated wholeness, not necessarily an endpoint.
Okay, let's touch on the final concept in this section. The geometry of spirit, DNA of creation. This brings us to sacred geometry, things like the flower of life or Metatron's cube.
Right. This isn't just about pretty patterns. Sacred geometry is seen as revealing the foundational blueprint of the universe, the hidden order and harmony woven into the fabric of existence.
We see these patterns in nature.
Everywhere. From the spiral arms of galaxies down to the structure of crystals and snowflakes, even the proportions in ancient architecture like the pyramids. The idea is that matter naturally organizes itself according to these fundamental geometric laws. Form follows function, and the function is cosmic order.
How is looking at a shape like the flower of life considered initiation through form?
Because these patterns represent universal, impersonal truths. When you gaze upon them, they tend to quiet the chattering analytical mind. Your mind recognizes the inherent order, the harmony, the balance. It's like a nonverbal reminder of the underlying structure of reality. Observing the form becomes a doorway to experiencing the spirit or consciousness behind it.
Can you briefly explain those two specific shapes mentioned? The flower of life and Metatron's cube?
Sure. The flower of life is that pattern of overlapping circles. It's seen as symbolizing interconnectedness, the idea that all life, all creation, arises from a single source and is intricately woven together. Metatron's cube is a more complex figure derived from the flower of life. It's often called the cosmic blueprint because within its lines you can find all 5 Platonic solids.
Well, Platonic solids be
Those are the 5 perfect 3D shapes: tetrahedron, cube, octahedron, dodecahedron, icosahedron. Ancient traditions, like the Greek philosophers, believed these were the fundamental building blocks of all matter. So, Metatron's cube contains the blueprint for physical reality. Seeing the blueprint helps you recognize the order beneath apparent chaos.
Okay, and the practical takeaway is quite simple. Meditating on a geometric pattern.
Yes, very accessible. Choose a simple shape that resonates with you, maybe a circle for unity, a triangle for balance, a square for stability. Just gently focus your attention on it for a few minutes. It acts like a mental tuning fork. It helps quiet the inner noise, often more effectively than just trying to empty your mind, and reinforces that connection to universal order, even if you're surrounded by everyday chaos.
Right, we have explored the foundational laws and the inner architecture. Now, Section 3 is all about living these principles, the path to embodied wisdom. This starts with understanding the 3 great initiations: ignorance, awakening, mastery.
And the key here is seeing this journey not as a straight line, but more like a spiral of growth. Life brings challenges, sometimes the same challenges, again and again, but it's not because you're trapped.
It's for refinement.
Exactly. It's an opportunity for deeper understanding. Think about it. The first time you face a particular difficulty, maybe you react purely from instinct, ignorance. The next time it comes around, you might have some knowledge, some awareness, awakening. Eventually, you approach it with wisdom, patience, maybe even grace, mastery. The universe is patient. It gives us multiple chances to learn and evolve our response.
So the stages repeat, but hopefully we navigate them with increasing skill. How can you tell which stage you might be in?
The practical application is really about honest self-observation. Look at your prevailing emotions when facing a recurring challenge. Are you feeling mostly resistance, frustration, impatience? That might indicate you're still in ignorance or early awakening, still fighting the lesson.
And if you feel more readiness?
If you feel readiness, acceptance, maybe even compassion for yourself and the situation, you're likely moving towards mastery. Ask yourself, does this situation feel like a solid, locked door I keep banging my head against? Or does it feel more like the door is opening but requires a new skill or a different approach to walk through?
These repeated challenges seem like preparation for the core of spiritual work. The law of transmutation, turning lead into gold. This is the heart of alchemy, right?
It really is. But we need to remember, traditional alchemy wasn't really about making literal gold from lead. That was largely a metaphor
Metaphor for what?
for spiritual alchemy. Transforming the lead of our base nature, things like ignorance, fear, despair, into the gold of wisdom, enlightenment, inner peace. The legendary philosopher's stone wasn't a physical object. It represented that state of profound inner understanding and spiritual sovereignty.
So this means looking at our toughest life challenges. Maybe a relationship that feels stagnant or deep inner turmoil, not as burdens to get rid of, but as
Essential pain as raw material. Yes. When you can view the difficulty, the lead, as the necessary starting ingredient for transformation, you shift from feeling like a victim to becoming the alchemist in your own life.
And that's how you forge power.
That's the idea. You take the raw energy of pain, fear, or frustration, and instead of being consumed by it, you put it into the symbolic forge of your awareness. You consciously work with it to transmute it into strength, wisdom, compassion.
How is this achieved? Not by fighting the feeling.
No, not by suppression. It's achieved by observing the emotion without immediately reacting, by getting curious about the shape of your fear or anger, and by choosing mindful engagement rather than impulsive reaction.
Can we walk through the practical exercise suggested? Writing down your current lead.
Okay, take a moment, maybe even pause this, and identify something that feels heavy right now. A recurring doubt, a persistent feeling of resentment, something that feels like dead weight your personal lead. Write it down.
Then what?
Then, try to identify the false promise. What small, maybe unhealthy comfort does holding on to this feeling give you? For example, maybe doubt protects you from the perceived risk of failure if you try something new. Acknowledge that.
And then alchemy part.
Then detail the process to alchemize it. How can you reframe this challenge as a teacher? What lessons might be hidden beneath the surface? Look for the roots. Consciously choose to cultivate a new relationship with this struggle. You're not trying to instantly eliminate the lead, but to understand it, work with it, and begin the transformation into gold. Shifting your relationship to it is the first step.
This inevitably brings us to a really tough but vital aspect, the role of suffering, the great awakener.
It's unavoidable, isn't it? Every path of growth seems to involve this trial of pain. And we need to be careful here. This isn't about seeking out pain or pointless self-punishment. It's about understanding the suffering that life naturally brings.
Like the phoenix rising from ashes.
That's a powerful image for it, yes. Suffering can lead to profound rebirth, revealing truths about ourselves and reality that we simply wouldn't grasp otherwise.
But it's crucial, based on what you said about duality, to understand that suffering is not punishment. Right?
Absolutely critical. These teachings don't frame suffering as divine punishment. It's more like a sacred alarm clock.
An alarm clock.
Yeah, it shakes us awake. It jolts us out of complacency, out of the fog of distraction or comfortable illusions. It forces us to confront our own fragility, the limits of our control. If life was always comfortable, always easy, would we ever really seek deeper meaning or growth? Probably not.
So when we can see suffering as a catalyst, it becomes the doorway.
It becomes a doorway, yes. A guide, even. It can initiate us into a much fuller, richer experience of life. It reveals resilience we never knew we had. It cultivates compassion born from shared vulnerability.
The reflection here seems powerful. Looking back at past suffering and asking, how did that initiate me? How did that rough, jagged stone eventually get polished into something valuable within me?
Exactly. And learning to see scars, not just as reminders of pain, but as badges of survival, symbols of evolved strength and wisdom gained through hardship.
Okay, so once we've done this inner work, faced the shadow, understood suffering, we need to protect the result. This leads to the guardians of energy, protecting life force. Mastery requires vigilance.
If your inner self is the temple, then your vital energy, your life force, is the sacred flame burning within it. And true masters, the sources suggest, are incredibly vigilant stewards of this energy. They guard that flame.
Guard it from what?
From external storms, yes, but also from subtle internal leaks, power leaks.
What are those? They sound sneaky.
They are. We often don't even notice them. Think of your energy like water in a vessel with tiny, almost invisible cracks. Vitality just slowly drips away.
How? What causes these leaks?
Oh, many things in modern life. Chronic stress is a big one. Constantly overcommitting yourself, getting sucked into comparison on social media, holding on to unresolved anger or resentment, even just the constant barrage of digital noise.
And these leaks weaken us.
They subtly drain your inner strength, your natural sense of authority or sovereignty. They leave you feeling depleted, reactive, easily overwhelmed, instead of centered and empowered.
So how do we practice reclaiming power and seal these leaks?
It starts with conscious boundaries. Learning to set firm, clear boundaries, and crucially, doing it without feeling guilty. Understanding that saying no to something that drains you or isn't aligned is actually saying yes to protecting your inner sanctuary.
Prioritizing rest and stillness, too.
Absolutely. Making time for genuine rest, for quiet, for practices that recharge you. That's essential maintenance for your energy vessel. It strengthens your personal sovereignty.
The source suggests an energetic boundary visualization. Can you describe that?
It's a helpful mental tool. Imagine your personal energy field as a sacred space, maybe like a bubble or a chamber around you. Then visualize a boundary, not a rigid wall, but maybe a luminous, flexible shield.
What does the shield do?
It acts as a sophisticated filter. You set the intention that this shield filters out overwhelming or negative external energies, like the stress of a crowded place, the constant ping of notifications, maybe even the intense emotional turbulence of someone else. It allows in only what serves you, what nourishes you, or what you consciously choose to engage with. You become the gatekeeper of your own energy field.
Okay, so with a strong inner foundation and protected energy, the wisdom we cultivate needs to go somewhere, which brings us to the law of service. Higher wisdom points outward.
Right. Inner work isn't meant to be purely self-serving in the end. Wisdom, once cultivated, naturally seeks expression. It wants to flow outwards. Like a candle, its purpose isn't just to be lit, but to illuminate the space around it.
So service is the bridge.
Service is the bridge that transforms accumulated knowledge into living wisdom. Knowledge kept only for oneself can become stagnant, even egotistical. The true initiate, according to these principles, isn't defined by secret knowledge, but by consistent, often humble acts of giving.
Without needing fanfare or recognition.
Exactly. Like a river that flows steadily and nourishes the land without demanding thanks. Service, when done from a place of genuine compassion and alignment, actually helps dissolve the ego's constant need for validation. It aligns you with something larger than yourself.
So, the mirror here is that the real value of the wisdom we gain is ultimately measured by how it positively impacts the lives of others.
That's the powerful way to put it,
Yeah.
yes. And the practical application doesn't have to be grand gestures. It's about one conscious act of service daily,
Small things.
often very small things. Maybe setting an intention in the morning to offer a genuine smile to 5 people you encounter, or to really listen to someone without interrupting or planning your reply, helping someone with a task. These consistent small acts actively shift your focus from self-preoccupation to contributing, creating ripples of kindness.
This seems to tie everything together in the alchemy of everyday life, making every act sacred.
It really does. This is about bringing all these principles into the most ordinary moments. The key ingredient is intentionality.
How does intention change, say, washing the dishes?
Well, you can wash the dishes mindlessly, maybe resentfully. Or you can choose to do it with presence. Feel the warm water. Notice the movements of your hands. You could even dedicate the act maybe to cleansing away negativity or cultivating gratitude for the food you ate. That intention shifts it from a chore to a mindful practice.
Turning routine into rituals in the mundane.
Exactly. Transforming everyday routines into small rituals. Maybe dedicating your morning coffee to clarity for the day, saying a silent thank you to the trees during your walk, taking 3 conscious breaths before you start your work computer. These tiny shifts infuse the ordinary with sacredness.
The source gives a really vivid example, traffic meditation, transforming gridlock into a sanctuary. How on earth?
Haha, yeah, it sounds impossible. But the idea is when you're stuck in traffic, instead of fuming and fighting it, consciously shift your role. Stop being the frustrated fighter trying to get ahead. Become the calm observer.
What do you observe?
Use the red lights, the honking, the stop and go as cues. Cues to pause, to breathe deeply, to feel your body in the seat, your hands on the wheel. Just witness the scene, the other cars, the sounds, your own internal reactions without judgment. You aim to maintain inner stillness even amidst the external chaos. That's alchemy in action, right there on the freeway.
That's quite a challenge. And the result of all this practice, this integration, is ideally the joy of mastery. Enlightenment is radiant joy. We often think of masters as super serious.
We do, don't we? Stern, solemn figures. But these sources suggest that true mastery actually moves beyond that heavy seriousness into a state of lightness, even pure joy, like the feeling of a sunrise after a long night.
So the journey itself becomes a celebration. Mistakes aren't failures.
Mistakes are just chapters, necessary parts of the learning process. There's this idea of wisdom and lightness, playfulness, laughter. These aren't signs of foolishness. They can actually be indicators of a higher state of wisdom. Laughter disarms the ego, invites humility. Play keeps the mind flexible, creative, unattached.
So true wisdom isn't about forced concentration, but a balance.
A balance between focus and surrender, discipline and flow. It's about noticing what genuinely makes you feel alive, makes you light up. Use that feeling of joy as a teacher. It's often a reliable inner voice whispering what truly matters, what aligns with your deepest self. Finding small ways to inject delight and play into your routines is part of mastery.
Okay, this brings us to the culmination, the final integration, becoming the flame, embodying wisdom.
This is the ultimate shift. It's crossing the chasm between merely knowing something intellectually, like holding a key, and actually being it, living it, walking through the door.
Like the difference between studying compassion and naturally radiating compassion.
Exactly. It's a fundamental shift in identity. To live as this flame in a world that often feels noisy and chaotic means cultivating an inner flame of awareness, presence, and wisdom that doesn't flicker or get blown out by external circumstances or inner turmoil.
You stop just reacting to the world.
You start illuminating it from your own centered place. And this requires constant conscious presence.
How do you maintain that?
By continually grounding yourself, using your breath, feeling the physical sensation of your body, sharpening your perception, and by making conscious choices about where you direct your precious attention. You nurture that steady inner glow so it outshines the fleeting shadows of distraction and doubt.
The final practical tool offered is the exercise your flame statement.
Yeah, this is about crafting a powerful personal declaration. It's not just a wishy-washy affirmation. It's a statement of your embodied being. Something like, I lead with courage and inspire authentic connection, or I create harmony through mindful presence.
And this acts as a beacon.
It acts as your personal North Star. You read it, Feel it and use it to align your actions, choices, and responses with your highest values, with the wisdom you've integrated. It's a declaration of who you choose to be. So if we were to distill this whole deep dive down to one core message, it might be this. The secrets, the 33rd degree knowledge, they were never truly locked away, not hidden in secret societies or ancient rituals exclusively.
They were hidden in plain sight.
Exactly. Hidden in the principles of vibration, duality, silence. In the way we navigate our relationships, our challenges, our ordinary everyday moments, it's always been about perception.
Which means the real 33rd degree isn't some rank or certificate you earn.
No, it's a state of being. It's a level of consciousness where knowledge isn't just something you have, but something you are. It's embodied wisdom.
You're not meant to just collect these insights like treasures.
You're meant to become them, to live them, breathe them, let them flow through you into the world.
So the final thought, the invitation for you listening, is perhaps this. Maybe stop searching so hard for some hidden vault or secret key. Instead, consider that the real path is to walk through this often chaotic world as the flame itself, steady, present, radiant, unshaken by the noise.
Because the initiation, it isn't something waiting to happen. It's already underway. Every breath you take is a ritual. Every choice you make is a degree. The journey is now.